And wine, everybody. I broke my wine glass. I have a margarita glass. Okay, we'll work with it, right? So we're trying the software another week in a row. So let me know in the comments how it's going, how it looks. We're gonna play with it a bit, but it's open chat because we wanted to. I just ran to get here, but we wanted to with a bit more, so it's open chat. Any questions, ask them in the comments, or we're gonna sit here and chat. It's Wine Wednesday, so that I can catch my breath here. Holly, can you kind of go over what you were telling us before we started? What happened to you this week and how you handled it?
Well, I had a huge disaster. I had an 84-gallon flood in my house. What happened was my grow out tank is acrylic. It's a old tank originally from Scripps Aquarium in San Diego. And apparently the seams were not as strong as they once were. A seam broke on the tank. Luckily, there was a couple people in the room. We heard a scream, and there was a lot of rushing water. So ran in, and there were 4 of us handling it. We were grabbing buckets, an empty koi tub, anything that we could find to try to catch water. Luckily, I have about 40 old towels that I keep on hand for aquarium use. So every single one of them got soaked. My husband came in with the wet vac and vacuuming out the carpets, started a fire in the wood stove, ran a fan on the floor. Thank God I was able to rescue all the seahorses. I had 9 seahorses in that tank. And I threw them into buckets and then set them up with a little 10-gallon. While I went online, I had to find a new home for them because they would crowd. I have a 55-gallon display tank that's already got enough bioload on it. It's got 4 seahorses and some other fish in it already. So I had to find them another home. But thankfully, Petco was having a sale on 75-gallon tanks. I bought one and went and picked it up, but I can't hook it to the sump because it doesn't have an overflow box. Nobody around here sells them. I didn't have time to find somebody to drill a tank or get a tank ready for me, so brought the 75-gallon home, put them in it. It has a lip on it, like a frame type thing.
Yeah.
So guess what? None of my hang-on back filters will go over that. So I'm hoping the overflow box that I ordered will. Otherwise, I've got another problem coming.
Which brand is it, Holly, that you ordered?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. It's on Amazon. So I would have to take a look at it. I bet it's probably coming from China. But so anyway, right now I had an old canister filter that I haven't used in 13 years. So I put some of their bio balls from the sump and some ammonia reducer pads and charcoal. It loaded up the canister, got it going. And this happened Monday. So far, they're doing all right, but I knew they weren't getting enough oxygen from that canister filter. So today I was able to add a power head with aeration and everything, and they perked up right away. They're playing now. I just set that in there like an hour ago, and they like it. So they're a little bit happier. They're eating. There's no ammonia reading. So that's good. And then Cheryl kind of helped me during the week, walking me through how to maintain my sump while I'm waiting to be able to hook it to the tank so that I don't lose my cycle in the sump. So been adding a little bit of household ammonia to that every day to keep it going.
And so is that the trick? Just how much ammonia are you adding to the sump?
I'm adding, it's a milliliter per 10 gallons is the measurement they say to use to start it, the tank cycle. And I think it ended up being that because it took like 2 milliliters of ammonia to get it to read at half a part per million, which Cheryl said she thinks that's enough, like just so I get a reading, right? And it goes away within 24 hours. So
Well, you can even, depending on how long it takes to get that overflow there in, you can even add a little more ammonia.
Yeah,
You'll
because
be
it's taking
overcycling
it to a half and going away within about 12 hours. Because I added ammonia last night at 7, and by 7 this morning it was gone.
How many little ones do you have?
There's 9 of them.
And they're
But
not
you
so
got to
little,
remember,
are they?
they're not little anymore. They're. I know Kelly has one, so yeah, they're probably about 6 inches now, right? 6, 7 inches. They're adult.
Yeah. I'd dink around with the ammonia and bring it up to at least 2 parts per billion, and make sure it's carrying that 2 parts per million within 24 hours. If it's not, get ready for some big water changes when you switch them over. And also get some an ammonia blocker, have ammonia blocker on hand.
Yeah, I got some of that. I got that. I got Prime. I got another brand that's the same thing because it came in a bigger bottle. And so I've got that. So I'm ready if I...
Here, please.
Yes.
Kelly knows this, if she remembers anyway. When I got my Australian order in, 5 years ago last June, I didn't have the tank ready, even set up for the Barbary. I was set all up for the abs, but not the Barbary. I put them in the tanks. I had 4 of them at the time. I put a pair in each one, and there was no biological filter or anything done. All I did was kept on testing and adding Chloromex, which is a binder, and I kept on adding that according to what I was finding in my testing for the ammonia, and just making sure that I didn't have any that was testing there of any degree to cause a problem, like burning the gills and that. So if there was anything showing at all, then I upped the amount of Chloromex that I put in it. And it didn't take long. Like within the day or so, I had it to a point where I was able to maintain it for weeks going on like that. And then gradually started backing off. And if I saw ammonia, then I'd step back a little bit and go on another few days before it backed off again. And so all the tanks were cycled with the Seahorses in right from the start, just by using Chloromex. I wouldn't recommend anybody doing that the first time.
Yeah, but if you have to.
And that's important to know. But I feel that over the years I've been in the hobby long enough that I was able to do it, and it does work. So if you get into a jam, if you're using Chloromex, you can still, I'm trying to think, the test kit that I use for us. You got to use the right test kit.
Exactly.
So is Chloromex like Prime then? What is Chloromex?
Well, hang on. First of all, Ray, was it Salifert, Red Sea? It wasn't. You used API?
Yeah.
API.
See, and that's the one that that's the one that some people say can give you a pod. Like if you're using Prime, for instance, it can get it's going to show the ammonia or whatever.
You're gonna get a false positive.
Yeah.
Right. And all I wanted to say before I let let Ray finish is that definitely we don't advise that. You can, if you get in a jam, Prime is a miracle worker for sure. Chloromex, he's going to explain what that is in a second. And that's my question, Ray, is Chloromex a blocker? Because I have read and heard that the ammonia blockers stall the cycle because they're literally like Prime converts ammonia into ammonium. so the cycle continues. It still converts
I've
to nitrate.
never heard that that it blocks it from anybody that I would consider passing on
Yeah.
good
Valid.
information.
Okay.
The thing is, it
I
converts it to
never have
ammonium.
experienced it myself. The reason I use the Chlorum X is because many years ago, before I got into seahorses, Chlorum X was the choice of shippers from Asia and various places to put in the bags with their fish when they shipped them over.
Uh,
It was the best product that they had available. And I figured, well, I can't get it here in Canada, so I ordered it from the US. And I don't mind paying extra for getting the best when it's when I know shippers are using this and they're depending on it, and therefore I should be able to depend on it. And
well, and I can't
to
find
compare with
Chloramax.
Prime, I've never ever used Prime, so I can't comment on any differences. There
Well,
is some difference, but you would have to Google it. It's been a few years since I Googled it, but I know there is a difference.
sure, and I can tell you a little bit of that difference. Prime, not first of all, Prime detoxifies. You can use it as a conditioner even, so it removes chlorine. It removes the metals and all of that. So it can be used just for that. However, it also has the benefit of, like I said, turning ammonia into ammonium, so it's not hurting the fish or the seahorses. And that's why, that's always been advised to me to use for Prime, because it let me know if I'm crazy, you guys. Maybe I am, but I remember when I was back in, setting up my reef tank, I remember learning that, like, I can't find Chloramax. I just tried to Google it, but I did
Me
find.
too. I'm wondering how it's spelled. I was spelling it like chlorine,
Right.
No.
and
Well,
I don't think it's that.
CLO,
yeah, I
It's
found
CL.
something on. Okay, I found.
M, and then hyphen X.
Right, I found it
Oh.
on Read Mar Culture. There you go.
Ah,
So, but what it says is,
yeah.
it says Chloramax is a dry powder water conditioner, ammonia and chlorine neutralizer. It detoxifies and reduces ammonia, chlorine, and chloramines in both fresh and salt water. So I don't know about this product, to be honest. I just know that, like, when I go to PetSmart, we have products that say ammonia blocker, or completely remove ammonia, or save your fish kind of thing. And you don't want to use those because it's like literally somehow, I'm not
it
scientific,
sounds like Prime. So the
no,
issue
it's not.
is,
It's different. It's different. With Prime, the ammonia is converted into ammonium. With these blockers, and I'm not saying Chloramax is, it says neutralizes, so I don't know. But with the blockers, it actually, like, I'm not scientific, but it actually, like, takes the ammonia and removes it. So it's gone. So there's no ammonium left to cycle. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Chloramax is probably different because it worked for Ray. So I just be careful when
Well,
you use these products. Make sure you know what you're doing and do your research, is my point.
most
yeah,
of the
I
most
would
of the
only use
blockers,
it in an emergency. I would use water changes to get rid of ammonia first. But if I come home from work and I don't have time to deal with it, and they've got ammonia and I need to take care of it right now,
Yes.
that's when I would use it.
Right. And
The thing is-
I've had an entire tank, a tank of discus freshwater and a tank of seahorses saltwater. The discus tank, I came home and they were like lying on the ground. Something was very wrong, gasping for air. I didn't know what it was. I'm like rushing, trying to test and, going crazy. And Sean was like, just, what about Prime? And so I dumped in the equivalent amount of Prime, and 5 minutes, they were swimming around. I never did figure out what was wrong, but whatever it was, Prime
you
fixed
got
it.
lucky. The thing
Yeah.
is with the ammonia blockers is they typically only work for up to 48 hours before it converts back to ammonia. And if you have not done the water changes to go along with it, you're all you're doing is creating a vicious cycle as you're trying to get the ammonia down. Eventually, it'll cycle, but it's one of those things where you really don't want to put your fish through that if you can avoid it. You really don't.
Right. And,
No, I
and
never did
Heather
any water
Hillman,
changes.
Heather's saying in the comment section that she's used Prime the way that you have used Chloramax, and I have too used Prime. And she said, right, with Prime, the good bacteria still grows because it's ammonium and it's not gone. It's just converted and safe. But Salty, hey, I see you. Seahorse Corner, hey. And Salty, do you know about the blockers? Because I swear I'm not crazy. But anyways, either way, it worked for Ray. So, and if you're in an emergency situation, for sure, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But you know, and what the other emergency solution is to, you know, if you can make saltwater cake or have saltwater, throw them in a bucket or whatever. But
Throw them in a bucket,
stressful.
like I said. That's
stressful.
always an emergency solution.
That's stressful for them, though. And I just wanted to real quick before we go on say Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. The people on Facebook, I realized it for some reason it wasn't going to Facebook, and it is now. So if you missed the beginning, Happy Wine Wednesday. Kelly broke her wine glass again, so I'm sipping on a margarita glass. But anyways, okay.
I had it on Facebook right from the start.
You what?
Oh, I'm sorry, not Facebook. It was YouTube that I had on from the start.
Right. Yeah, I apparently when I use this software, I have to turn on Facebook. So everybody remind me every week, you know, make sure I got Facebook on. But real quick before we move on, because I do want to ask Cheryl and Ray some questions. But Holly, speaking of discus and such, I know you were working on cycling your freshwater. How's that going? What's new with that?
I still am. It tested this morning. It was 0.25 on the ammonia, and I've added a couple bottles of bacteria already. So I added another bottle this morning. My first bottle, I forgot to shake it before I poured it in. I came home from work. I was in a hurry, and it was all clumpy in the tank. And I'm like, oh. So I don't know if that slowed it down. But that was last week. And I have to say, between all the Seahorse stuff going on, because then I thought Scrappy Doo was pregnant, and now is annual election period for Medicare starting up. So I'm very busy with work. I'm very busy with the Seahorses. And then Monday, the tank breaks. So I've been doing all of it at once. And yeah, so the freshwater tank, I don't care if it comes along slowly. I'm just kind of dealing with it. But yeah, so it's slower than my saltwater tank was, but I had it up to 2 parts per million in ammonia. And it doesn't have, like I said, it's not like the Seahorse tank with a sump and all this room for bacteria to grow. It's the bio wheel and then the decorations in the tank. So I guess that probably makes it slower. And plus me having so much to do.
Right.
So
right.
I've been testing it, and the ammonia slowly went down. And yeah, today it was 0.25, and I'll test it tomorrow morning and see where we're at. But I'll probably just leave it alone at that point and wait, because it's got like 3 bottles of bacteria in it now. So,
One thing
you better hope you don't end up with a big spider web tank like Cheryl has before.
I get kicked out of all this
as long as
bacteria.
there's still ammonia in it, it's probably okay, because the bacteria is not eating all the ammonia. So
one thing that we need to mention, because we may have some new people that are listening in that aren't familiar with the ammonia cycling system, most ammonia that you can buy at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, any of those, they all are scented different flavors, so they don't smell like ammonia. You have to actually go and buy pure ammonia. And it's like sourcing some of the other stuff. It can be a little difficult to find, but you don't want to be putting other additives into a system. And
or
the other
get it from
thing
Dr. Tim's. He has ammonia chloride.
with I use Seachem Safe. I used to use Prime. I have had excellent luck where I start to get a little bit of a spike in something on a newly cycled tank. That stuff works really well. I buy it in 7.7 pound buckets.
I don't know how we got it along so much without all this stuff. I started back in 1954 in my fresh water, and was in fresh water until 1993, when I switched over to salt. And back in those days, we never had test kits. We never had ammonia. we just used food to let it decay and everything back then. And somehow we all survived.
Yep.
Some
Yeah.
people miss
My-
that.
my
Some people
first-
say we've. Some
my
people
first
say we
seahorse
have like
tank.
ruined things with all of these products and everything. It has certainly made things easier, but the old-fashioned way, does still work. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Well,
Yeah.
my first Seahorse tank, I was actually just out of high school, and I bought some dwarf seahorses. I was told to use table salt, mix it until it tastes good, and that they had to eat the live, you had to hatch the live brine shrimp. Needless to say, it didn't go real well for me at that.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to this, I was the kid that my neighbors had tanks. I had tanks, freshwater. We raised guppies, swordtails, and everything else from the time I was little bitty. And I was heartbroken. I swore I'd never get a seahorse again after I lost those dwarfs.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, guess what?
Right.
Yeah,
Speaking
my
of,
first seahorses, I was about 19, and this was like 1989, long time ago. So
I'm not going to give you my year because I'm not.
you're not going to volunteer that information. But no, back in that day, even then, I mean, the pet store, the way you cycled a tank was to buy a damselfish
yeah.
Yeah,
and basically wait for it to die. That's
either that or if you got lucky, then you'd
It
have to try
lived.
to catch the darn thing to get it out of there
Right.
because it'd
Yeah.
kill everything else.
I was gonna say I used bottle bacteria along with the damselfish method when I did set up my reef because I just didn't know any better. I didn't know about ammonia cycling yet or anything like that. And mine wasn't as long ago as your guys's, but I just didn't do the proper research, I guess. I thought I had, but you know how it goes. And my damsels did live, and boy, I did have to hunt them because they were terrible. I hated those things.
Well,
But-
going back, I remember when Instant Ocean first hit the market. Now I'm dating myself.
I'll have to look that up.
That was a long time ago.
So Cheryl,
but yeah, well, the old-fashioned way, change the water. I think that's still one of the best
Number one,
plans
yeah.
when you're having problems. Honestly,
But I mean,
Absolutely
how many
agree.
people, honestly, how many people test their top off water in their new salt mix for
Right.
any contaminants, ammonia, etc., before they use it?
Never.
Right. No, I mean that's something that
I
I'm
don't-
guilty of not doing. Right.
I do it if I mix water every day before the water gets used for anything on a tank, it gets completely tested to make sure nothing has changed on my top off water or my water change water. And again, I'm on a well, so it's not chlorinated water, so it tends to have more problems. But that's still something to think about, particularly if you're like I am and live out on a private well.
Mhm.
Because-
Actually, I'm curious. Yeah, no, I hear you, Cheryl, for sure. It's something we all should do. It's just, that timing thing. And I appreciate you guys kind of walking me through it. I really do think that I resolved my bucket pump problem. I think it was bacteria because I was leaving the water running. And even though Ray was able to do it forever without cleaning it, now that I clean it, I don't seem to have the problem. And I'm cleaning it every time, which is a pain, but I'd rather that than have the gunk get in the water. But I'm curious, you
What was that?
guys,
Without cleaning what?
the pump between mixing water.
Oh, that's a good way to trash a pump and create a problem.
Right. But I just remembered, Ray, didn't you say you never
Yeah.
did? Yeah.
I got them down there now, and I'll bet you. Cool. Last time it got fouled up, like get too much calcium deposit in the bucket, and then it starts plugging up the pump. Well, that's the last time I cleaned out the bucket and so on, and it's got to be over a year.
Wow.
But
I just-
again, you can't get away with that if you're on a private well where everything is coming through the aquifer into your
That's where all my movies
pressure
are.
tank and then into your house. You
And
just
my
Right,
water
no, you
supply
have-
is really good because it's Great Lakes water.
yeah.
Right.
See, I don't have,
Well, my question that I was
Well, I
getting
find
to,
that the
wait,
pump
wait.
seize up if you don't rinse out the salt. water
Right.
from them. Like if I put away a pump and don't rinse it, it'll seize.
Well, I'm doing
And
more than
so then
rinsing
my
now.
husband has to take it apart and rinse it or put it through vinegar. We have to do vinegar and get it going again. So I always rinse them after in water.
A quick side note. I don't know. I didn't even realize it until here fairly recently. You can actually buy a higher percentage of vinegar than what you normally get, and it works 10 times faster.
Yeah. Well, I've started using the vinegar in between each because it did seem to resolve my problem. But the question I was getting to, guys, is do your seahorses seem to like or dislike right after you do a water change? And I understand you're messing with their area, so they probably don't like it during. But I have noticed I overthink everything, you guys. I'm constantly thinking I'm doing something wrong. And so I've noticed lately, like Cheryl, we're going to talk about your babies in a minute. But my guys are now dancing, twirling, headbutting, turning bright white, and trying to, do the twirl. I caught them twirling the other day, and they're trying to breed, and so they were getting all frisky, happy-go-lucky. But I was noticing that those benthic copepods were getting thick on that glass. I hate those things. Anyways, so I decided to do my water change a little bit early. I mixed the water that day, not early. I wiped down everything before I did the water change, which probably stresses them too. But then after I did the water change for like a day, they were kind of pouty. Now they're back to dancing and everything's great. But I just wondered if your guys' seahorses get
Mine
get excited during. Dandy and Sadie get frisky while I'm doing the water change.
So do
They're
mine.
excited about it.
Mine are all over the tank. And when I start adding new water in, they're like, "Oh, spray it on me." But it's
now I worry about Candy. Yeah, she'll get in it, and my temperature doesn't always match exactly. It'll be I keep like a 3-4 degree range, but it's really hard for me to match temperature here because of the way I make my water. Yeah. And so it'll be coming in like I have a hose from a bucket that's pumping the new water in, and Candy will sit like right under it. Yeah. And I'm like, you might want to move. The new water's coming in. And she does sometimes if she gets uncomfortable, but the stuff that they'll tolerate rather than move kind of surprises me sometimes. It's like they'll sit there and take something going wrong before they'll move.
Mine have figured out that the siphon collects any uneaten mices. Mm-hmm. So they're now over there at
they'll chase it. No, I had one the other day.
Trying to clean out.
I had one because in my new grow out tank, at least the canister filter will pull the uneaten mysis to one side of the tank. So I'm going and I'm trying to siphon it out. And I've got one seahorse chasing the siphon. And so her little fluttering fins are fluttering the mysis everywhere while I'm trying to vacuum it.
Yeah. I'm dumping buckets of water in. I don't mess with a hose and a pump. I just dump it in the tank. And you can sit there and watch them all swim over to where the water is coming in and jump into the flow that I'm creating.
Yeah. My grow out tank, I use buckets too. I dump in the buckets of water because it's an open top. But on my display tank, it's got a custom built cover over it that frankly it's a bitch to remove. And so I use a tubing hooked to a submersible pump to pump water from a bucket into the tank.
I do that too.
Refilling that bucket because otherwise we have to take everything off the top of the tank, lift that heavy. It's a solid wood hood. It was custom built by someone, so it weighs a ton.
So somebody that builds like I do, way over the top.
Yeah, it's overbuilt. That's for sure. So yeah.
A question too. When you added the circulation pump, have you ever looked into the CC pumps? SICCE?
Oh,
I think I did once, because I think you mentioned that before, that those were good.
I prior to this, I'd always used Marineland, but they long ago quit making those pumps. I still have quite a few of them, and they still work. But I picked up the some of the smaller CC pumps that are specifically designed as wave makers, and they could be actually even be hooked up to an apex snap. So I mean, they can be remotely turned on and off in the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
My
Now
Seahorse
I had
love
wave
it.
makers. I had wave makers. See, I had a wave maker in the tank because I have wave makers, and I put it in the other day and it fell. The suction cup failed and it fell down.
Oh, guys,
And I didn't have
uh,
time to deal with it, to wash it in vinegar or deal
yeah.
with whatever. So I just got them a power head from Walmart. And I actually like this better for what I'm using it for because it's adding oxygen to it's got the air hose attached to it because it's a power head, not a wave maker. So
Right.
it's creating more flow, but it's also adding more oxygen to the water, which is what they need right now, especially while I'm waiting to be able to hook up the sump. And I have another question actually while it's on my mind.
I didn't do it.
So the overflow box I ordered is 600 gallons per hour. Is it, okay? So that's okay. So the pump, the return pump that I have in my sump right now, it's a Jabeo, but it's really high power. It's like 2,200 gallons per hour. Should I try to look for a pump that matches the overflow box in speed? I mean, how am I gonna
Wait. Can you say that? I was messing with the computer. Can you say that one more time? The pump is
Okay, so the overflow box I ordered, and this is actually the most gallons per hour that I found, it's 600 gallons per hour, right?
Okay.
So if I have a pump in my sump that's more powerful than that I can't turn down to that speed.
Yes, you
How
can.
do you compensate for that? Am I going to need another pump and increase flow another way?
Yeah.
Like what do I do?
I go in with the larger pumps, and coming off the top before they go to the returns, I plumb in a ball valve. And what it does is I can turn that valve and either decrease or increase the flow to the tank, depending on what's going on with the tank.
Isn't that overworking a pump though? I mean,
no, because it's still blowing out water. You're gonna put too much head pressure on it if you try to block. Like I have adjustable pumps. They're also you can turn the knob.
Mine's adjustable too, but right now I have it on. When I had it hooked up to the previous tank, it was the slowest. It's on the slowest speed. So I'm saying this new overflow box is a less.
Well,
it's slower than the overflow box I had. I might need a less powerful pump. Do you think?
I would go in. I would go ahead and put in a ball valve, a bleed off valve, because what happens if you start messing with dialing them in too much off and on, you're increasing the head pressure on the pump, and you're going to burn it up a lot faster. And so what I do is I can just turn this ball valve. It's on all my nurseries, and basically I have it on all my tanks. So depending on what I've got in the tank, I can adjust my flow. I'm using everything drilled anymore, so I don't have to worry as much about gallons per hour because they drain really well.
But is the overflow box to? Sorry, I gotta go fix something. I'm causing a flood with the road eye.
Oh, yikes!
What?
Okay.
So put extra U-tubes in the overflow box and doubles the flow.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah. The reason I don't want
I've always hated the. First of all, real quick, while she took a break, because I know she's going to want to finish this conversation when she gets back. So I'm going left field real quick, guys. I just wanted to give credit. The abdominalis in the lower left-hand corner, or I don't know what if it's left or right. The abdominalis at the bottom are
In
from
my picture.
Seahorse Australia. In the picture, right? Are from I'm sorry. The abdominalis are from Deb. And so if you haven't seen Deb's video, it's on this channel and it's on Women in Reefing. The sea dragon, which Deb does sea dragons.
It's on your head,
actually,
by the way.
I know. I was going to say it looks like it's trying to eat my hair. We'll fix it for next week. But that sea dragon belongs to Seahorse Australia. Thank you. I did ask to use. And then the yellow seahorse is Lucy's, and the red seahorse is Sam's. That's a Southern Goddess. Beautiful seahorse. I think she named it red, but I wanted to give credit to all the pictures and any pictures that I do use as we fix this up in the future. I will make sure to put the credits in the comments and try to mention it while we're live. All right, Holly's back. I'll shut up.
I forgot to turn off the valve on the reverse osmosis unit before the meeting.
All the time. Happens to me all the time. Oh, in fact, as you guys have to, I just realized what I was going to say in response. Ray gave a really good comment that I want him to repeat for you. But before he does, I was going to say that this is why the Javeo DC pumps are like almost the same price anymore. And so I love my feed mode. I love the fact that I can, it might say 25,000 gallons, but I can lower it, and I literally couldn't tell you the gallon per hour because I do get like a bigger rated pump, and then I just lower it until it works. So anybody
I had
in the
to figure
comments,
it out because
I'm going to show you guys something.
Wait. I want to tell you guys to please continue chatting because it looks like you're going to have just Ray because Cheryl ran. But I just realized I need to go hit the button to turn my tank back on. The seahorses are sitting there without enough flow. So I'll be right back myself.
Haven't you guys heard of timers?
I know.
So maybe Ray, you can tell me this. So my hang on back overflow is going to be 600 gallons per hour, right? To me, that sounds like not enough turnover for the 75 gallon.
Has it got a 1-inch YouTube?
She doesn't know yet because she hasn't got it.
Oh,
yeah, I have a picture of it. I can look it up. It's on Amazon, so I can see if I can find it in my email.
If you can put a picture, just for grins, though, everybody. You talk about pumps. 550 gallons, 5,500 gallons per hour.
That's a good size. I think we have pond pumps.
Adjustable.
Yeah, no, my Javeo is adjustable, but I think the lower end is too fast for the 600 gallon per hour overflow.
Well, remember, ideally you want, depending on the size of the seahorses, 10 to 20 times the total water volume in turnover rate per hour.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm thinking. So 10 to 20 on a 75 gallon tank, that's 750 to 1,500. And my overflow box is only 600. But it was the biggest one that I could find at the time.
Does it have one YouTube or two YouTube?
Let me see if I can find it. It's on Amazon. It was Amazon's choice.
And while she's doing that, Ray, repeat what you just said that Cheryl was talking about.
Yeah, you just put an extra tube in it.
So does that double it?
A 55-gallon one that was high flow. This wasn't a seahorse tank, but it was a real high flow tank I had for some of my marine fish, and I put 3 U-tubes in it. There were 3 1-inch tubes in it.
They make them in different sizes. I've got a couple of the ESOPs that had the dual U-tubes and have dual drains on either side. And those things, I forget, they'll handle at least 1,500 gallons.
Okay, so if I add, I'm going to find it on my phone here, and then I can tell you what it is so you can see it on Amazon.
Well, and
I don't really
have to make sure that the final drain, though, on the back side, make sure it can handle the flow. But usually your pipe on that one is fairly large.
Well, and I'm gonna screen share in a second too, because I just Googled it and found 1,500 gallon per hour overflow. So
Well,
maybe you'll have to get a bigger one.
I prefer. I want drilled tanks. They just make life so much
I
easier.
prefer that too.
Yeah, it's just they're easier to clean. With the overflow box, you've got more equipment that you have to clean out all the
And
time.
you might have leaks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just I'm at the point where it's like if it's not drilled, it's going bye bye.
Now my 65 gallon, oh, I guess I could turn on my camera again. Sorry guys. My 65 gallon is actually has an overflow because I didn't I had to set it up quickly, and the bottom line was I didn't know how to drill at the time, and I didn't have anybody to do it for me.
Yeah.
And I had already bought the tank. So I do still to this day use an overflow box, but I'm constantly freaking worried about it. I'm constantly worried like that the attach, and it's the one that I screwed up when I replumbed the UV sterilizer, which is taken off now, guys. But when I replumbed that, I had so many problems because, you know, you do have to figure out the head height and, you know, how much
Yeah, because
and
depending on how
Who
you're
would
running it,
drill
it'll determine
tank?
what it's going to kill.
Is that something you can have done like at a glass shop? Because I don't have any aquarium places, near me that
all right, you guys in the comments, tell us where to get a
Are you
tank
talking about?
drilled.
You could. That's an Aqueon 75.
Yeah.
It should be probably has a tempered bottom. It shouldn't be tempered on the sides. But what you need to do is find somebody, like around here. I know multiple people that have the glass drills and everything else to do it
Yeah.
and drill them. But you need to get somebody that really knows what they're doing.
That's
And
what I figured.
that's where the problem would arise.
See, I don't know if I took it to a glass guy and said, well, I need this tank drilled for an overflow.
I don't know.
They might not know what the heck,
I use glass.
You'd have to talk with the person because
Call
around
around.
here we've got all kinds of people that have all the tools and everything else, and say, "Yeah, bring it by. I'll drill it for you." But you could set it up, drill it in the back, and set it up similar to what Alicia's tanks are set up like.
Mhm.
My 90-gallon tanks, I ordered brand new, and so the manufacturer drilled them for me where I wanted them and the size and everything. But all my used tanks, I took to a glass place here in London and had that place do it for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I would say call around, and I mean, if you're using an overflow, it's not the end of the world. You can figure it out. I could try to Google, the exact measurements. It does matter, like how far your sump is. Like
Yeah,
in my case,
it.
well, in my case, my sump, the stand, it wasn't meant to be a drilled tank, so the sump literally sits in front of the tank. So the hosing to attach everything is longer than what it should be and whatnot, and all that stuff matters. And I just personally can't tell you off the top of my head. So if Salty's still here and wants to give us some input, feel free. But that's something I'm not comfortable answering without. And real quick, guys, Holly, I want to give you a chance to show. But Barbara, I see your question. I'm going to have us talk about that in just a second. Go ahead, Holly.
So I don't know if you can see it. I don't know how to share on my computer, but it's a blue ocean.
Okay.
Can you see what it looks like?
Okay.
Yes, and it looks small. That looks really small.
It is really small.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says 600 gallons per hour.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to screen share really quick.
What I was thinking is not enough.
Hang on. I'm going to try to screen share real quick. And can you guys see this?
Yeah, the ESOPs.
So there's one on eBay, 1,500 gallon per hour overflow box. I'm sure I didn't go to Amazon yet, but
the thing is, go with a bigger overflow than you need. All of mine are the ESOPs, like the one, the PF 1000 Dual. I have several of those. The thing is, if it's like one tank, if you've got too much flow because you got little guys in there, you can take one of the U-tubes out and run it slower, and it'll still work just as. Even if you have the
so
dual
before it even, Before it even gets there, Holly, return it. Return it.
Stop it and get a bigger one.
Okay, so real quick, Barbara had a question. I know we're going left field again, but that's what we're here for. She wants to know if for a 45-gallon all-in-one is big enough for 4 seahorses. And I'll answer last. Or first, if no one else talks.
Okay, wait a
I'm
minute.
all
Run that-
writing down
I've
something.
never recommended.
Okay,
No.
why not?
Mm-mm.
Even a 45 that isn't an all-in-one, I wouldn't recommend it.
Mhm.
If she had a lot of experience with seahorses and knew what she had to do to make it work, and had the what would I say? I'm a born lazy person, so I know when I push the limits, then I'm going to lose sometimes. And
Right.
so if you're that type of person, never ever go to a 45 for 4. But if you're the type of person that can stick at something that you have to do the extra chores permanently, as long as you have that situation, then it can be done, but not until you have enough experience to know just what you have to do to keep it in that that amount.
I not only agree with Ray, but I personally set out, Barbara, to do a 40-gallon. And I was planning to try to push it and see how much I could do in this 40-gallon all-in-one. It's an all-in-one. And I absolutely, it's my least favorite tank in the house because it's just so much more work. You know, I'm having to do larger water changes to, you know, because and to be fair, you can do it. It's just I'm used to sumps and the extra work that Ray's talking about. Like if you're just an overachiever and you want to be all in and you're not a very busy person, you could pull off 4 seahorses in a 45-gallon on one. I've pulled off like 300 seahorses in a 90-gallon, but it's a lot of water changes. It's you know, you have to stay on top of the testing and to have to really figure out, like one of the things we recommend is to have an overrated skimmer. The recommendation is to go double the rating of your tank. So if you have a 30-gallon tank, you're looking for a 60 skimmer rated for 60 gallons, right? So when I did my 40-gallon all-in-one, the biggest skimmer that I could find that would fit in those little cubicles was Innovative Marine, and it's rated for 60 gallons. So that's times and a half, but it's not 2 times. And it was hard to get it figured out and get it adjusted. I finally have done that. And I'd be happy to share with you if you do set it up. But I just personally wouldn't recommend it. Like Ray said, and I've been doing this for a lot of years, and I currently have 3 seahorses in this 40-gallon all-in-one, and it's a pain. So if you want it to be easy, go bigger, or you know, attach a sump or whatever.
Well, it's like when I first started, well, you needed 30 gallons for a pair of seahorses. So I set up a 29. I figured 29 is close enough. Okay. I now have 9 29-gallon tanks that have been retired and been reworked and built and turned into sumps. My smallest tank for even a pair of seahorses is one of the old Oceanic 58 gallons. And that's with the 29 gallon, that has the 29-gallon sump on them. So you're looking at a total water volume of 58, 68, 78, almost 80 gallons roughly. 50, 60, 70, yeah. And they're so much easier to maintain. The seahorses do so much better because the water parameters are more stable. I run skimmers on those systems that are rated for 180 gallons. But I have plenty of room because I got a 29-gallon sump. I got room for my biopellet reactor, my K1 media reactors, a big skimmer, a nice big filter sock. And the thing is, you don't want to be crawling in there and having to move everything around and take everything out to change a filter sock. You want to be able to walk up, slip off the old one, and pop a clean one in. And all of this makes it so much easier.
Well, now to be fair, 2 things. First of all, with the all-in-one, if you choose to use the socks, it is very easy. It just sits in the hole, and you just take it out and put a new one in.
Yeah.
But Barbara said she's already keeping the 4 seahorses in the 45-gallon, all-in-one. Barbara, I'm honestly curious because I'm working through this myself. what kind of media are you using? Like in mine, on one end, I have a UV, Innovative Marine UV, and then a skimmer rated 60 gallons per hour. And then the middle has the pumps. And then I have my K1 reactor homemade in the third space, and then a sock in the fourth. And I'm thinking about taking the UV out and putting a sock in on both ends. But I'm curious what. Oh, and I also use Purigen, just kind of thrown down in there, and Aquachar. Forgot Aquachar. Excuse me. But
You're
I'm
gonna
curious.
get in trouble.
I know. Aquachar sponsored this channel, so love you, Aquachar. But I was gonna say. And it's amazing product. I would not recommend something that I don't use and don't truly like. But anyways, I'm curious what you're using. And one thing that I will mention, when I first started with Seahorses and knew absolutely zilch, like I was just like, hey, Seahorses, I want to do it. And I kept a reef tank, but that's not the same. And I set up a 29-gallon tank with 4 Seahorses. And I covered it in macros. Okay, so it's the one that was in the magazine. If you need to see a picture of it, I can show you. But anyways, it was covered in macroalgae, which helped me. And it just had a hob filter, and it worked, and it was going okay for about 4 months, and then it wasn't going okay anymore. So that's why I asked how long, because if it's working for you, and if it's been working for you for 2 years, then obviously you know your tank and you know your water change schedule. And if it's working, who are we to say you can't do it? You're doing it. So hats off if you're doing it. But in my case, I within 4 months in that 29 with 4 Seahorses and a ton of macros, I ended up adding a sump with an overflow box. That was almost as it was a 40 breeder. So it was bigger than the tank the sump was, just so I could have a big skimmer, a big this. And I did end up, frankly, losing one of my first 4 Seahorses because he got pouch emphysema and had a bunch of issues. Because what happens is, if you're not, as your tank gets older and the organics build up, the Seahorses just tend to start to have problems. But like I said, if it's working for you,
Yeah, but if you got a big enough tank with a small enough population, that tank should be good, and you do your maintenance on it. That tank should keep those Seahorses going for years, and I'm talking a lot of years.
Right, but she's already set up, is what I'm saying, and she's
Well,
thinking
she's
about
only been
upgrading.
going for 6 months though.
Yeah.
And she
Usually a
says
year.
that she changes water every 5 days. Well, the thing I'm concerned about is she may be feeling that the amount that she's doing, because it's been okay up to now, may be okay. And she may have had some recommendation from somebody else who said this is how much they do in their tank and it worked out. But the thing is, every tank is different. You can have the same number of Seahorses in the same size tank, the same size sump, everything, and there can be something different in there. You may be feeding a little bit more than what another person is. You may be just not doing husbandry quite as much. And so while 6 months, everything might be fine, the things that you can't measure that doing the damage, like the dissolved organics, they may be building up to a level that by the time you get to a year, you're going to have trouble.
Right, like I did.
So it's something, it's not that you're not doing enough for your situation at the moment. It's a case of that 6 months isn't enough time to know that you're doing enough. So you're always going to have to watch and be sure that there's nothing changing about your Seahorses, whether you're seeing a change in the attitude or feeding habits, or if you see a wound that shows up, you're always going to have to be watching for that until long term you've discovered that what you are doing is sufficient.
Dead on, Ray. Dead on. And that's called, the only way you get to that point, though, is with experience monitoring Seahorse behavior.
Nobody else can tell you what you have to do for that particular tank. You can make suggestions.
Exactly.
But it's a case of you're going to find out for yourself.
Right. And Barbara, I'd love to talk to you on the side, and hear what you're doing and such, because in my 40-gallon all-in-one, I've I ended up having a lot of problems because I added too much bacteria. Anyways, long story short, when I do my water changes, I have specific things that I do to keep it going. And that's what makes it more of a pain in the butt. But since you work from home and you're able to do that, if you like doing it, cool. But I wipe down all the sides, you know what I mean? The bottom, I wipe everything down before I do the water change. And I'm currently doing like, I mean, it's like 40% every week of water changes just to maintain. And it's because when I had those 3 in the 29, when I very first started, well, it was 4, like I said, and I ended up losing one because what I was doing seemed to work and then it didn't. But if you're watching them, I'd love to get with you on the side and I'd love to see them. And, you know, if you ever want to come in here and share, nobody's ever going to tell you no, you can't do it. We just make the best suggestions we can. But like I said, I'm trying to do the 40-gallon all-in myself. So no hate is what I'm saying. We're here to share, and I wish you success. But if you're able to upgrade, the recommendation is to do so. The
She has
recommended,
a bare bottom tank, and I just love those.
Yeah.
yeah,
Bigger
the
is-
recommended is 30 gallons per pair of seahorses. It used to be 30 gallons and then 15 for every additional pair. But even Dan from Seahorse Source changed it. Now he recommends 30 gallons per pair. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, I personally, I like the big footprint of the tanks that are 36 long by 18 to 22 inches. The width, and then the height is at least 20 inches, and that comes out to be about a 65-gallon tank. But I've had so much better luck with the larger tanks, the sumps, the big skimmers. It personally has made a huge difference for me.
I have a question for you guys. Kind
It
of
wasn't
sort of
me. I was off that day.
It's kind of on the same topic, but not really. Okay, so in the 40-gallon all-in-one, I told you guys the boy is going back after both girls. He's dancing with them. He's coaxing them out. They try to get away from him, and he bullies the hell out of them. But anyways, I noticed that now that they're actually dancing back with him, we always the recommendation, a few years ago was, and in fact, in my how to set up a seahorse tank, I do recommend getting a taller tank. That recommendation has been cut from because so many people have kept seahorses in a shorter tank. In fact, Harkins Aquatics bred seahorses in like a 12-inch high but very long tank, and he said there was no problem. Dan has said there's no problem. So we took the height recommendation out of recommendations, but in my all-in-one, it is an odd shaped all-in-one, and it's very short. It's only like, I think it's like 16 or 15 inches high, right? And so I noticed as they're dancing, as they dance up, they're literally like popping up out of the water, and it makes me wonder, is there not enough room? I'm sure they'll figure it out, but
Yeah.
I've had them transfer in the 55-gallon breeder. And that's a pretty low tank.
yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, one of the realizations we've come to, because we usually say, oh, they need the extra height to be able to rise in the water column during courtship. Well, first of all, with seahorses, where there's a will, there's a way.
Right. I'm sure
That's the first point. But they also, not all species, hippocampus combs, oftentimes complete egg transfers will hitched. They'll tend to circle around a plant as their dance moves and then complete the egg transfer. So they don't even use the extra height.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is if you have to climb on a ladder or get on a footstool to clean the tank, I can virtually guarantee you there's going to come a point that you're going to start slacking. So you're better off with a shorter tank that you can readily clean than worrying about a couple extra inches.
Right. I mean, I hear it. I know the reasoning. I'll let you guys know how it goes because they're definitely trying. So if I have babies soon, then you'll know we've solved that.
They figured it out.
I mean, I've been kind of lax on social media. Apologize if anybody has reached out to me. It's just been hectic in my personal life. Won't go into that, but I need to I've taken 5 million videos of, showing Like, heck, I haven't even gotten the pouch emphysema video up yet. I need to get that done, and the MACNA videos. I'm so sorry, guys. I will get them up eventually, but I've got videos showing, like, literally, okay, so see, he's flushing his pouch. See, he's shoving his pouch in her face. see, he's knocking her out with his head.
Have you
That's
got
all
a picture?
farting.
Have you got a picture of her ovipositor though?
I do. Actually, I really do. I have a picture that shows the ovipositor. I'm working on the website too. Some of that stuff I've kind of kept hidden so that when I put it up, it'll be something new and special, but I need to get on it. So anyways, I'm rambling, but anyways. Ray, was there anything else you wanted to chat about, talk about, anything?
Yeah. One thing
Go ahead,
too that
Cheryl.
you come to realize is seahorses, they're not truly sedentary, but they tend to, unless they're courting, a lot of their movement is lateral rather than vertical.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, that's where we started saying, hey, well, maybe they actually need more places to go back and forth rather than up and down.
Yeah, that's true. Mine hardly ever swim up, like you said, unless they're courting. They're going back and forth across the tank, exploring and going off to hang out with each other. So they're not going up unless, they want to hitch somewhere up there or they're courting.
Yeah, they're not like some of the other fish that like to jump out of tanks. They're not jumping out.
No.
That's just not something they would do.
They're not
Right.
I got rid of all my old Aqueon 65 gallons because they were 36 long, 18 wide, but 24 tall.
Oh, yeah.
You get them on a stand, and I'm climbing on a ladder. And my doctor would have a heart attack if he saw me climbing on a ladder.
Right.
Trust me.
It's just too much to have to reach down.
It was
there
just,
for sure.
and you know something? I did not maintain those tanks
Yeah.
the same way I can maintain like the DSA 65 or the old Oceanic 58s, because I can still reach the back. I can still stand right there and reach the back of the tank. If the seahorse gets in trouble, I can easily pick it up. I don't have to go try to find a ladder or anything else. And it just makes my life so much easier, and I do a better job taking care of them.
That is the one thing that I
having a heart attack, not you.
That is the one thing that I absolutely love about the all-in-one is it literally comes to like here.
Yeah.
So I can reach in from standing. I don't have to get on it. But real quick, I don't want to go to questions, and then I want to jump Ray for a minute. Just wanted to say, hey Heather, I knew it was you, Miss Seashed, and Salty Reef apparently wants your babies. But I was going to say to Barbara, since you're messaging from Facebook, please feel free to. I've been lax on social media, but I know you're going to do it, so I'll be looking for it. Please reach out to me in Messenger. If you can't find me personally, I have a page, the Seahorse Whisperer. Reach out to me because I'd love to message with you and share what you're doing and what I'm doing and see if we can help each other. But I forgot what else I was going to say about the all-in-one. But yeah, okay. Anyway, so Barbara, hi, reach out to me. And Chimp, hey, good to see you. I love that you stopped by. Thank you so much. Chris Carey gave a good something about, let me see. Measure twice, drill once, very slowly with water flowing over the drilled area. Slow and steady wins the race. And he also, I think, made the comment of ball valve way back on the pump. I'm going behind. I'm sorry, guys, trying to go through these. And I wish Harkins was here so I could ask about his seahorses breeding in the very short tank. But anyways, I know life gets in the way, Salty, but when you're ready, let me know. And Heather said, got a bunch and one pregnant and 2 males trying to get pregnant. Holy moly. They're only about 3.5 weeks. They've got a ways to go. That's a question I have for you guys, because the yellow sea, and this is kind of pointed at Cheryl, because Cheryl, you have the Ocean Rider yellows and oranges. I'm so used to these massive seahorses because I haven't gotten new ones in so long, right? So my seahorses are gigantic, okay?
Yeah.
And so when I got the little guys, it's like, oh, they're so cute and whatever. But his pouch is it just seems so small to me. And I know we always tell people that the first batches will be small and stuff, but they're, they're adult size now, and their pouches
Yeah.
seem smaller. Did you notice that?
The male that just got pregnant today. This will be his third pregnancy. His first one, he only had like 20. That was
Ah,
it. Okay. And his second one, I thought he might be pregnant, and then I saw some fry and pulled him out. Okay.
hmm
This time, there is no doubt that he is pregnant. Not only is he already huge, and they just completed the egg transfer this evening, but she is now slim. She's back to her model figure
hmm
because she got huge.
Yep.
And the thing is, I've had years and years ago, I got some seahorses from Draco Marine. And the owner of that company actually was the one that designed the Baltimore Aquarium Seahorse exhibit. And he sent me a male that had to be erectus, that had to be close to 9 inches.
Mm.
And he was already big, and he got even bigger the longer I had him. You want to see a male that produced a huge fry and
Right.
several hundred at a time.
So yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying is so part of the reason that their first batches are small is because their pouches are small.
They're
And
babies.
as they start to get older and the more pregnancies they have, it grows bigger and can carry more, and they figure it out. So okay, well I probably won't pay too much attention to the first batch then, but it's exciting that they're so active and ready to get it.
Yeah.
And Holly,
Well,
what were you showing us?
That was, I remember I said I just got that new power head and put
Mhm.
it in. So I was showing you one of the seahorses went and sat right in it, and
oh,
it's
yeah.
full power, and that seahorse is blowing all over the place, but they were loving it.
Erectus are
Yep.
some of the
Wasn't it
crazy ones when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Wasn't
Uh,
it Heather that gave us the shower ring curtain idea? That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Heather,
yeah,
wasn't it? So
yeah.
Heather, I want to tell you, I copied the idea, and in my
yeah.
40-gallon all-in-one, and the way I've got it like hanging is it goes directly across where the flow comes in
Mhm.
from the two
Uh-huh.
nozzles. But there's spaces where they could be on it without being in direct flow, but
Without
they
it.
go right direct in the flow and sit there on this
Love
ring
it.
going blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
I
Yeah, I
love it.
think I might put some of the, I have some and I haven't hooked them up before, but I think I might do that in this tank, now that I
Yeah.
have the different
Yeah.
tank.
I'm
I
going
need
to
to
make
get
a
back on
comment on
media
this
and post.
because I have seen more than one disaster with people that use the colored plastic chains because the seahorses can get their heads through it,
Mm-hmm.
but their bodies generally will not fit. And I know of more than one instance where by the time they found the seahorse, it was already too late. And I advise people when I talk to them, use the round shower curtain plastic
Mm-hmm.
devices because they're big enough, the whole seahorse will fit through them. And
Yeah,
it's a safety issue.
yeah.
Okay, so real quick, Chris Carey said females also produce more eggs as they grow, especially when well conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I'd love to, Chris, if you have time next week, whenever, I'd love to hear some of your conditioning tips if you're allowed to share them. And Salty, of course, if I have babies that I grow up, you're my first guy. But it's gonna, you're talking 3-4 months in the least. And Seahorse Corner, Heather Seahorses already have the experience, and so I wouldn't pass that must have been a Freudian slip. That's not right. Coinky dink. I don't know, but might want to get that Heather's number over
Well,
there. And
Kelly,
wait, guys, real quick before we move on, Dylan's has joined us. We haven't seen him in a couple weeks. Thank you so much for coming back. And he's moving, and he wants tips on moving seahorses. He's moved fish before, but never seahorses. Now I'll let you finish what you were going to say, and then we can talk about moving seahorses. Go ahead, Cheryl.
well, I was going to say something completely different other than that
Sure.
question.
Go ahead.
Well,
I jump around.
one of the things I've seen, and I'm gonna give you an example. I have pictures of it, but I'm not going to pull them up right now. Wild caught male, a pair, tiger tail seahorses, both fully mature, both emaciated. I only had them just a few months before they made fry. The fry were less than a quarter of an inch long. They had gigantic eyes in proportion to their heads. They had these little bitty, tiny, tiny bodies. They were all just kind of this big head and eye. They didn't look anything like a normal seahorse.
Mm.
After conditioning the pair for a year, getting weight on them, treating them for uronema, stuff like that, they produced beautiful big fry that were capable, in many instances, of actually consuming newly hatched brine shrimp. I still use copepods with them. The difference in the fry was dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something. When you get a young pair, it's like, okay, guys, you were at the you were in the backseat of a drive-in movie.
Right.
Wait until you get a little older. We'll try this for real later on.
Right. Well, and you made a good point. We don't ever promote getting wild caught seahorses, but wild caught are gonna be a little bit different. With captive bred, you're probably already dealing with
Well,
at least one
I'm going
generation
back.
in, and
I'm
yeah.
going back
Oh
to
no, I know.
2009.
Well, no, I mean, and
2009.
professional breeders do get in wild caught and they condition them and do all the work to get them healthy and proper, and that's how they provide us captive bred seahorses in that first generation. So nothing wrong. I
Yeah.
leave it to them, not to us. We're lucky to have captive bred.
Well,
Period.
the thing is, I first of all, I just tell people flat out, if they're just starting out, unless they're very experienced, do not get wild caughts of anything.
Right.
They need all kinds of special treatment. They need to be 9 weeks worth of deworming. Oh yeah, and if they're wild caught and they won't eat brine shrimp, which is very common, you can spend hundreds of dollars on mysid shrimp to get them to just deworm them.
Right. And I was curious, guys, because I haven't been on social media. Oh, okay. I asked Heather, but she already answered. So her tigers are doing good too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yay. Okay. Well, Heather, you're going to have to come like next week or whenever you can and tell us more about it, because definitely want to know more about that. But guys, let's cover
Rumor has
the
it she's
movie.
getting a bigger building.
Yeah.
Bigger sea shed.
Instead of a sea shed, she needs
I'm kidding.
a sea apartment complex
Gotcha.
for all those.
Well, that just means she's succeeding, and that's what we
Yeah.
love to hear. So, and okay, Salty, good. But yeah, let's do Dylan's question real quick because he's been waiting patiently. And Dylan, we just appreciate when you do come. Don't worry. But let's talk about how you move seahorses. Anybody got any tips?
Now what?
How
Move
to move
seahorses.
Oh, how to move seahorses. I have had friends that have done it. One, in fact, moved from Texas to Seattle, Washington. And what she did is she put them in buckets with air bubblers,
Air stones.
air stones, and also had additional top-off water. She also used Safe wasn't around back then, but she was using it Prime, and it was a nonstop drive to get from Texas to Seattle. But everybody made it, and she'd already had her. If you're moving, you've got one of a couple options. You're either going to have to transport the fish yourselves, or you're going to have to leave them with a fish store to take care of them while you get it done. Ideally, the people I know that did this in California, they literally had, and one of our friends just helped another friend do it this weekend. They must have had at least 50 5-gallon water bottles, jugs, and everything else. They saved all the water. They put everything into different buckets with air stones. They transported them as quickly as they could. They never, in fact, I've done it too. I brought a tank down from Dallas and left the substrate in, enough water in to keep the rock going, airlines, and put the seahorses in a bucket with an airline and brought them home. They did fine.
So
He's saying
wait.
it's 2 or 3 hours, so
Right,
it's
and
not that far.
So what
Yeah.
about temperature though? What about temperature? Do you want to like ice them down so it's
No.
cooler? Don't worry about temperature at
Just
all.
turn the air conditioning on in the vehicle.
Okay. And how in the world did you transfer a tank with water and sand and rock in it? I want to know that because
Because
that sounds like a disaster.
I took out the rock. I took out the
Oh.
water.
Oh.
I did not disturb the sand bed. We loaded it up, and I put the rock and the water back in the tank.
Okay, well, I would
Wow.
say that most people do recommend if you're moving to redo the sand. If you're able to transfer it the way Cheryl's talking about, like you're saying there was just enough water to cover the sand, or
It was enough to cover the rock and sand.
okay,
What I
that
did.
sounds like a damn disaster to me, just to be real.
Well,
But
depending on
but
how big the rock is, you can put it in a bucket with some of the
right.
tank water and transfer that separately. That's another alternative.
Well, and if Salty's still here or anybody or Chimp or somebody, you can if you just use wet paper towel on rock, it stays cycled, doesn't it? Or no?
I'd feel safer putting it in water.
Okay.
I would put it in water, I would think.
When they used to ship rock and paper, shipping it here to Canada, there sure was a lot of ammonia afterwards because there's
I'm
die
sure.
off in the rock,
Right.
and you can't
Right, good
stop
point.
that die off when there's some air getting into it.
So I don't usually do sanded tanks, but do you guys do you guys think? I've just heard from multiple people redo your sand, and I know Cheryl got away with it, but would you?
The thing
redo
is,
your sand?
I'll be honest with you. If I was doing years ago when I was really first starting out, I would bag them just like you do when you're shipping. Put them in an insulated box. Put in some hitches for them. Have everybody in insulated boxes. All the seahorses. I'd break the tank down and put the rock in. I wouldn't even worry about maintaining a cycle on the rock because it's going to get bleached when it gets to my house. And I'm talking about if I was to do it now, and I'd already have a tank set up at my house for the seahorses to go into.
Right, but he's not going to be able to do that. So one other thing I wanted to say.
Well, and he's
is,
only going about 3 hours away, he says. So it's not that far, a 3-hour drive.
Right. So seahorses in the bucket, maybe something to hitch on in there. Airline, you can get the battery powered airline to give them oxygenation. And I would say what I would do personally is if I was moving in a week, I would personally get whatever kind of media I use, whether it be K1, whether it be, rocks, whether it be whatever, and I would stick more in my sump or in my tank to get just a whole bunch of good biological bacteria going for as long as I could before I moved, just in case. And then I would also, after I set up the tank in the new location, transferring the rock and water as they have suggested, I personally would do new sand if you do sand. And I would have prime on hand in case there were any emergencies. I'd have made water on hand in case there were any emergencies. I would add all of that extra biological bacteria media to my tank at first, just to make sure. Of course, test like crazy. And yeah, I think the main thing is get some extra media going for just in case.
Set up what I call a rock tank. Cycle some filter media that you since they were moving to a new place, they wouldn't have been able to do it. But they can still get something like the Spritz Turbo Start 900.
Yes,
which
add bacteria, yes.
I have used extensively, and I have tried several other products and have been very disappointed in them. That's the only one that I use, and it's not cheap.
Now, see, I'll admit, I like Dr. Tim's. It's worked for me every time. I know that there's mixed reviews, but I like Dr. Tim's one and only. But thank you, Cheryl, because I think I forgot to mention that. I also would add bacteria. Don't add too much though, because if you add too much,
don't
have
clump
disaster.
it in.
Like my 40-gallon all-in-one when it was just a cloudy damn mess. But that, of course, can be cured. That can be cured with aquachar. Promote aquachar. All right, I'm done. I need to have some commercials I can throw up or something. But anyways, no, yeah, definitely. I love the idea of adding bacteria once you get there, and just having prime on hand or whatever on hand in case. Ray, you got any thoughts? Have you ever moved seahorses?
Well, not of my own. I've had to move some people that I sold seahorses to, and then they were unable to move them, so I moved them. But nothing on a big scale, nothing for long distance. But for me, I can't see a problem in doing a very basic, simple. Um, just put stuff in containers, move it. Don't disturb the sand bed if you've got a sand bed. It doesn't take much water left in the tank to keep the sand bed alive. Excuse me, and especially when it's only going to be for 3 hours.
Right.
The rocks.
Just have a couple big men to help move the tank.
Yeah, like I'm not even up on. I've never ever used any of the stuff that you people use. This bacteria and all this stuff here, and
You've been okay.
Somehow everything still gets on by.
Now, see, I just have to tell you guys.
And I got more money left over to buy seahorses with.
That's true. That's true, Ray. So a lot of people say the more we get, more products we get, we're getting away from the all-time working way that has always worked. But I'm picturing in my head, seriously, me putting a tank with sand, which I don't do sand, but sand and this much water in my back seat and hitting the brakes and it being all over me or something. I'm envisioning this.
No, you need it in the back of like a truck or something like that, so you can turn it on edge and tie it in there. And in fact, a friend of mine that was moving to Seattle with her seahorses, she was a half mile from the house when some bozo cut her off, and one of her buckets of seahorses spilled. And she was scrambling to salvage whatever water she could and grabbing her seahorses, putting them all back in the buckets and taking care of them. And she was so freaked out after that. Mm-hmm. They all did fine. She didn't lose any. I mean, it happened so quick. But she was just so angry and so upset and so scared for her seahorses. But they did fun. Seahorses are tougher than most people think.
I know. We act like they're so delicate, and they're not.
When my tank broke the other day, the seahorses were oblivious to what was going on. I mean, it was after breakfast. It was just an hour or two late. They were napping because I had the light off and it was still early in the day, so it wasn't real bright in the room. So I think they were all sleeping, and the only ones that maybe kind of freaked out were the ones that got caught in the air because they were hanging on to the return nozzle. So all the water left, and then they're hanging on and they're looking around like,
where's the water?
Go? But everybody else was oblivious, and I just grabbed them when, they hang on tight with their tails. So you can pick up a decoration with them hanging on it and pop the whole decoration full of seahorses into a bucket. They don't let go. So that's how I got them. And then I had to pry the ones off the return nozzles because those.
Well, and the thing is, when they get upset, when something's bothering them,
like a vice,
they tighten down that tail as tight as they can.
That's one of the reasons that we, talk about the pests in a tank and not having certain coral is because, if they get stung, afraid, whatever,
they're scared. They hang on tighter. Yeah.
But you made a really good point, Holly, and that's another question for moving. When you do get the seahorses to the new tank and you get it all put together and you get the seahorses in there, should you leave the lights off for a while or just act like nothing happened?
Well, if the lights are dim, I think the thing is when they have lighting change, like if they're in the dark and then all of a sudden it's bright light, it's shocking to them because they have no eyelids, right? So imagine that. So if you've got them in, if it's dark when you're moving them and then you're putting them into the tank, have the tank just match the daylight. That you're, try to match the lighting they were in.
And Dylan, please,
I would just keep that in mind. But I mean, if moving them in bright daylight and then they arrive to a bright location, it's not going to bother them really.
Well,
You
and Dylan, we're all gonna be wishing you luck, and please let us know how it goes. When are you moving? Let me know in the comments. But
I said, that when they sell
good.
the house isn't sold yet.
I'm sorry, my chat
Not
was
yet.
froze. I didn't see how many ridiculous not ridiculous, how many comments I've missed. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so
But-
he's got time to prepare if the house isn't even sold yet.
Right.
And honestly,
But
I would
wait,
say it's kind of like
you-
the way I plan for evacuation. When I'm evacuating because of a fire or something, the seahorses go into buckets with a hitch and the battery powered air pump, which you can get either online or from like a sporting goods store, because they use them for bait buckets.
Yeah.
A bait bubbler, they're called. So they would go into that, and I bring along a bottle of Prime and their ammonia test kit, so that if you're stuck somewhere for hours, and food in an ice chest, keep the food frozen. And that way, if something happens, if you break down or something horrible happens and it takes you more than the 3 hours, you're prepared for them in an emergency. You've got the Prime for the ammonia and some food if you need to feed them. But
see, no, wait.
Nothing to move them, I don't think.
With the food comment, I know he's only going 2 hours, but let's just discuss this for anybody who watches later who might be going 20 hours or something. So when you think of shipping seahorses, you don't feed them the day before.
Or
you want them
don't
not to poo in the bucket. So would you maybe, not in Dylan's case, because he's not going that far, but would you maybe not want to feed if you're going a far distance?
Thinking about it, I probably would not, because they can go for a very long time without eating and be okay. And that way you're not contributing to ammonia.
7 days that I know of.
Wait. For the record, guys, they can go a very long time without eating, but not continuously.
That doesn't mean starve them. But if you're doing something like that, then I wouldn't feed them.
Right. And I know that's what you meant, Holly. I just like to cover my butt.
Yeah.
Anybody who watches later, I don't want them to say, oh, yeah, you don't have to.
I only have to feed them once a week. No, we're not saying that. But in a situation like that, the ammonia problem is going to be worse than the danger of not feeding them.
Thank you. Exactly.
So pick the lesser of the evils. Don't feed them because they'll be okay. And after they're moved in and reach their destination, the next few days you can give them extra feedings to catch up, and they'll be fine.
Yeah,
but the danger of feeding them and getting ammonia poisoning and having to deal with siphoning and all that, I wouldn't do it.
Well, and if you end up using Prime in the bucket that you're moving them in, because I probably would. I know nobody else has mentioned that, but if I put them in a bucket, maybe not for a 2-hour drive, but for a 10-hour drive.
No, they should be fine for that.
Right. But I just wanted to say, if you use Prime in the bucket, no matter how far you're going, that's even more important that you have the airline, and it better be bubbling good, because Prime does take oxygen on
because it's going to mess with your pH.
Yeah, and that too. Yes. And Ray, I feel like us ladies keep talking over each other, and you've been trying to say something. Were you trying to say something?
Oh, I could have forgotten by now.
Because I forgot now.
The problem when you have cognitive impairment, you might be wanting to say something, but if you don't get it out right then, it's gone.
That's also a problem when you have 3 very, very loud and energetic and seahorse loving women, and you're the only man. Sorry.
That's what I was going to say. When you've got ladies who talk too much, that's what.
Kelly, another thing to think in terms of is, I'm not sure how it would work with all species. It probably would not work with some of the warmer water species, but like Erectus are quite capable of existing as far north as Nova Scotia, which means they're capable of handling cold fairly well. And you're better off if you're going to be stuck in a long trip, chill them down, keep them in the dark, and they're going to go torpid. They're not going to be moving around.
About earlier. Right. And, not for Dylan, but right.
Yeah, that would be a better alternative to do that. As Ray said, turn on the AC, don't feed them, because once you start feeding, you're going to start generating ammonia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did like. I want to back up and say I liked Holly's idea of having food in case she gets stuck somewhere or something got awful. But in that case, you need to do water
No,
changes.
because you're not going to be stuck that long, I wouldn't think.
Well,
but I think partly the point I was trying to make is don't let their food defrost. If you're moving their food, or you put it in ice chest. That's what I was trying to say. But I'm just thinking in my mind of what I would do, and because
that's a good point.
Because evacuating happens to me here, so I have to be prepared mentally. What do I do when that happens? Well, I have to remember to bring their food. And I have to put it where it won't defrost. So it has to be in an ice chest, ice packed in ice or whatever. So that's where
I apparently was talking instead of listening. Sorry. Yeah. But no, I was wondering when you said that. I was trying to give you, be like, I get what you're saying if you got stuck. But
I think I said it wrong because I'm imagining the scenario in my head of being evacuated, which is different than moving. That's a planned thing. Being evacuated is not.
Right. And didn't you just go through a flood? And I think I'm reading fire.
Well, yeah, but that was a flood from my tank.
Right. I'm not doing too well
either, but we didn't need to move because of it. Thank goodness I didn't need to evacuate.
I guess you guys can't tell that I half listen. Sorry.
I've had a couple floods now. I had another one tonight, but it wasn't as bad.
RODI. I remembered that one. I got that one right. Sorry, guys. I get to trying to do 3 things at once and it doesn't go very well.
Well, me too, because I forgot to turn it off before the show started.
Right.
So there you go.
All right. Okay.
Where do you get to be my age, Holly?
Oh, I don't know that I'll get to be your age, Ray. I don't think I'm going to make it.
Hey, Chris, maybe you can come next week and Ray can be not the only guy. Dan's so busy these days, it's hard for him to join. So definitely try to jump in if you can. Anybody who wants the link to join us in the video, all you got to do is reach out to me. It is also in the Wine Wednesday chat if you're part of that. But I can resend it at any time because we would love to have. With this software, I can have up to 10 people join. And we will get back to guests soon. I asked Salty earlier when we were going to do the curing video. We will get back to that. I just wanted to go a few weeks with testing the software, making sure we could get it to work, and that it worked better and get the seahorses angled properly and all that good stuff.
We asked the people that are commenting there, how can I comment without having to switch over to YouTube and post over there?
Okay, yes, I will ask the question.
I can sit here and post on this program.
Okay, so for anybody watching, here's the deal. When we were using Streamlabs OBS, I had a chat box. It was really small in the video, but we were able to see apparently what was being chatted with. When we're using Restream, I can see it, which is wonderful. I can see what you guys are saying, but they can't unless they look at YouTube. So I did see
what people were saying, but I can't comment on it. Like I can't. That's what it is.
Yeah, and you know what? I forgot. I could do this too. I forgot I was able to do this stuff.
It's got to be in the settings.
Oh, yeah. So I'm using. I don't mind telling people I'm using the Restream software. Period. Just using that instead of adding the Zoom and all that other crap. So if you know anything about Restream, please reach out to me. Because we would like them to be able to comment too without having to go to YouTube. So I will look into it.
I just saw the Chris Carey. Now I have Dylan's little hobbies, swim around. Like all of a sudden the stuff is all coming through.
Well, I'm doing that right now. I forgot I could do it. I forgot that I could do it. Sorry. There were new software.
I like magic.
Yeah.
No, I can see it, but I can't add to the comments.
On there right now, it isn't really needed because we've got it on the right side of the page.
Right. Yeah. I know. It's just cool. But
I definitely like this better than Zoom.
Whoops. Sorry. I do like this too. And I think everybody in the comment section so far said that it's better too. We'll work out the
Guys,
background, but
I have severe thunderstorms moving in, so if all of a sudden I disappear, I lost power.
Yeah. How is it now? How's your weather right now? What's going on?
It's starting to get real noisy out there.
Oh,
But we're supposed to get 3.48 inches tonight.
wow.
I don't know where they come up with these exact figures, but
Yeah.
I'm not the
Well,
one that
that's not as bad as last month when we, well, actually, I guess it was 3 weeks ago, where we had over 100 millimeters in less than 48 hours. So it was just over 24 hours.
Mm.
They were reported as 48, but it didn't rain all the time.
Wow.
Well, they've been warning us about this incoming storm now for the last couple of days. So the generator's over there, ready to go.
Yeah,
yes,
we have
that's the
power
other thing.
outage that are planned. In my area, we had high winds, and fortunately, the
that.
power outage didn't apply to me. But right
Yeah.
below me, power's out. Like they
I
shut
can't
it
even
off
imagine.
on purpose for
I
high.
can't even imagine that. I can't imagine them telling me, "I'm sorry, your power's going to be off because we've got a
For
fire."
3 days. Yeah, no, that
Holy
happens
shit.
here.
But you live
I
in the
mean, how
city,
would
she
you keep
lives in the country.
seahorses? I know, but I mean, how would you be able to keep an aquarium? You'd
You
have to
have
have
to have a
generators.
generator, and because I have chillers now, because they're such a powerful power drain, we have a whole house generator. So
Nice.
thankfully for that, now that I have the chillers, and it's way powerful and it's enough to run pretty much the whole house if we decide to. But we hook like all the aquarium stuff goes on, extension cords, power things, plugs into the generator and the refrigerators, and like my computer, like I can run my office and stuff, so I have
Well,
Wi-Fi and all that.
So
Well,
I'm going to ask
the
a
biggest
really
thing-
I'm going to ask a really stupid question. I know it's stupid, but
There's
I'm
no
going to
stupid
ask it
questions.
anyways.
You know
Oh,
that.
this one's pretty stupid. So I don't understand. I know what a generator is. I just don't understand how it works. If you're trying to avoid electricity, how is it using electricity
It
differently?
makes electricity. You put gas in it or
Okay.
propane, some of it.
I told you it was stupid.
So it's
Okay.
expensive to run. So I'll go through $50 of gas, in a day or two. But that makes electricity to run my stuff.
They've even got
Gotcha.
solar power generators now that you can use.
Right. I just
But
wasn't thinking
I'm going to
how
give you
they
an
work.
I'm fortunate because where I live, when I bought this house years ago, I have 2 military bases within 3 miles of here, which means I'm on the same power grid as 2 military bases,
Yeah.
which is priority for keeping power going.
Yeah. So yours rarely goes off. Yeah.
So when it goes off, it usually blinks, and they put us on a computer system. So as soon as it blinks, I don't even have to notify them. They know immediately that I've lost power.
Nice.
Mhm.
Hey, I want to make a comment really quick about Dylan's comment. You said, yeah, when I move, I'm getting a chiller. I'm so tired of the fans on my tank. That's something else I've noticed. I have always, I don't know if Barbara's still here, but one of the things I've noticed in the 40-gallon all-in-one is temperature in a smaller tank is more difficult to control because
Yeah.
I am so used to, like I've said in all my videos, oh yeah, just set your central air at this and you're jamming, because that's been true for every other tank I've had. With this 40 all-in-one, I'm still safe because we're apparently cold-blooded or
It's
hot-blooded or
more
whatever. But
volatile.
wait.
It's
So
less
I'm
water
setting
volume.
my current central air is set at 70, right? My 65-gallon tank that has nothing to do with nothing, I mean nothing on it, to temperature control, stays at like 71. Perfect. My reef, I have to heat because, it needs a heater. The 40-gallon all-in-one is at like 72.5. And I'm like, oh shit.
It's because, less volume of water. So it's more volatile. It doesn't hold the temperature as long. It's less stable.
Well, it's like in my tanks. I'll be honest with you. I will let them drop down. We're heading into winter months, and I don't worry about heating them. I own one heater, but I do not use any heaters. and they'll get down to 68 there or thereabouts. But I don't sweat it with the seahorses. They can easily tolerate 68 degrees.
Mhm.
See,
And
mine will go lower. I have right now my grow out tank. I had to put a heater in it.
yeah,
So I have a window screen in there blocking them off from getting to it to try to hitch.
remember, I'm in Texas.
I have
When
it
it gets down
set to
below
68.
yeah, when it gets down below 50, it's below freezing here.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
and I
we
was just,
do
We're
get
spoiled.
I was just gonna say, but that's the other difference too, is my house has central air and we keep it at 70. And the other interesting thing I've noticed is that the temp in the 40-gallon on one fluctuates anyways. So, and
Yeah.
it's on such a normal pattern that I'm not worried because I've monitored it for a few days now.
Mhm.
But when I wake up, it's like 69, and then midday it's like 72.5,
Yeah.
and then from there, so it's making a jump every day during the day, but they don't seem to care. Ray, do you think I should be worried about
Nope,
a couple of points? Okay, I just
nope.
wanted to make sure, as
No.
long as it's under 74. And
Look at
then
the
Dylan,
changes. Look at the changes in the wild what the seahorses are going through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
exactly.
right, as long as
They
it
end up with
stays under 74.
such a change temperature wise, especially if they're in shallow water and you get a real sunny day, that can really heat it up fast. And then depending on what the sewer outlets are that are pouring in from the land situation there, that can either lower it or it can increase the temperature, whatever. And on top of that, it's going to change the salinity. So
It's going
seahorses
to change your pH.
really,
It's going to
in
impact
some
all the water
respects, are pretty
parameters.
hardy.
Wait,
Now
what?
The
I'll
Cheryl?
seahorses,
say the
Wait,
chillers
guys,
because
guys,
I
hang
have
on.
central heat and air, and when I got the chillers, it saved me over $100 a month on my power bill
Wow.
from run
Cheryl,
compared to running the household AC to.
well, see, we're gonna run it at 70 anyways, because
If
like
you're
I'm
if
the
you
type. Wait,
like
wait,
that,
guys, we're interrupting each other. We got to stop interrupting each other. But no, I'm the type of person that likes to like be in air conditioning and wear a robe. I'm an old lady now, apparently. But Holly, say what you want to say, and then Cheryl and then I have a comment. Go ahead.
oh, so I was just saying, like, without the seahorses, we don't mind it getting like my house will get up to like 85 sometimes inside in the summer, and we don't mind it. That's not hot to us compared to like the
Wow.
100. Okay, so we don't really need to use it for us. But I was running it the central heat and air because of the seahorses. So when I got the chillers and we stopped running the central heat and air, it was something like $150 a month came off my power bill. Even though
That's
the
amazing.
chillers were running a lot. They were
That's
running a lot,
amazing.
but they don't use as much as the household
So
does.
you are a testament to chillers. I mean, there you go. I
yeah.
mean, we need people like you. In my case, I can't imagine my house being 85 degrees. I guess we're just cold-blooded or whatever the blood it
Yeah.
is.
Over
Because
72, I'm dying.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
see,
I
me
love
too.
it. I love 75, 78 is like my favorite
Oh boy.
You're
temperature.
absolutely
It,
nutcase.
And
But no, I mean,
yeah.
you gotta realize I grew up in an area we go over. I mean, I'm in the mountains, so we don't get that hot, but living in the valley, lower down most of my life, 100 degrees, 110
see,
degrees in the
see, but
summer.
there's a difference. Like I love the
And it's
summer. I hate
dry heat though.
But
Yeah.
I love the summer, hate the winter, but I like to be out in the sun, swimming, tanning, whatever, and then come into my cool, that crisp. Oh, I love it. And then if I get in the summer, you guys, I have my air so low that I sometimes have to get the blankie. I like it that way. And I'm an old lady, apparently. Okay,
I can't
let's never
afford
talk
it
about
that
this.
way.
Right.
If my utility bill got cut by $160 a month, I wouldn't have a utility bill.
Right, mine either, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
See, I use turbine blowers on the sumps on my seahorse because I have too darn many tanks to buy everybody a chiller. And I've already cut them off because we're getting down into the 50s and 60s. And so at night, again, to help maintain the stability, turn off the blowers, and it's still not going to change that much at this point. Now, when we get down into the 30s sometimes, that's when I have to bring out, and I have some floor mount heaters that I turn on for 'em.
Yeah. See, we're
I've
there
always-
now. I'm hitting low 40s this week.
Yeah.
We're like right around 40. Winter's coming. And yeah, my house is big and we don't run the central heat and air. So, like, the grow out tank is kind of separated from main part of the house. So it gets colder here. So, yeah, I have their heater set for it's on, I think, 68, 69.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm using a great big titanium heater because I don't have access to the sump with the flow through. So I have that in there, and I have a screen set up so they can't get to that part of the tank where the heater is.
Right.
Try and hitch to it.
Well,
Yeah,
you guys, I just have to tell you, I've never been so grateful to live in Indiana because I'm at least, our weather, they say the weather changes constantly. I'm not even going to do the joke. It changes constantly here, but it's so so close to so not drastic is what I'm trying to say that,
But you get
I can
cold
just keep
winters
my,
there, don't you?
yeah, but my heater works the same as my central air. I mean, I just use the house as long as we're comfortable and the tanks are under 74. Amanda, I wanted to mention some comments real quick. Amanda Shore said 2 degrees is not a lot in 24 hours. Thank you. Totally agree. I over worry about everything. And she also said, I use a window shaker in our fish room. What's a window shaker? I want to know what that is. I'm dying to know. And Dylan's, I'm so glad that you figured out that TDS was your problem with your water that was causing algae. Bummer that you finally get the algae going and now you got to move because, that's, if you're going to have problems, it's going to be right after you move. But try to, just keep it all wet and keep it going. Oh, air conditioner. Oh, a window air conditioner. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Window shaker. Got it. You use an air conditioner in the fish room. That's smart. I think that's Ray does that in the basement, right?
Just an area I have enclosed for the ab tank.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than
And
the tour.
Heather has a split in her sea shed. She's got one that does heating and AC. A little unit.
It's a ductless battery powered heating and cooling system. It's the latest technology that they're marketing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
The biggest problem they have right now with those is if for any reason there is a fire, because of the chemicals associated with them, firefighters really don't have a good solution of how to put out a fire that they start.
Right.
Oh, wow.
That's the biggest concern right now. Mm-hmm. I have friends that are firefighters also.
Well, hell, it's the same in California. The electric company keeps starting fires. Yeah. Anyways, no, I was just going to say too that before you guys think that I'm 100 years old, I'm not. And I did want to mention, now that I've got to defend myself, I feel all self-conscious. I keep it at my house at 70, but we have really high ceilings, like in every room. So whether it's heat or air or whatever, it's got to be, okay, I'm done. I'm feeling like I'm hanging with Ray now. No, I'm just kidding, Ray.
Well, we're a little bit further north than you are.
Yeah.
So what
we're a few hours drive from Detroit.
Nice. And so what's what do you keep your house at? And how do you, aside from air for the abdominalis?
I keep it at, I like it at 20 in the daytime, which is 68 Fahrenheit. But I crank it down to 15 for nighttime.
Wow.
And then it'll stay that way until about noon hour, because when I get up, the only exercise I get is walking. And I either walk outdoors with my walker, and I have a platform on the walker because I can't hold on to the handles on it and walk. And so it's like using a shopping cart. You ever gone into a
Yeah.
grocery store and seen older people leaning on the shopping cart?
Mm-hmm.
That's me. But that's where it got me the idea. I built a platform to go over top of the handles on this rollator, they call them. But
Hey,
because
since
of
it's
bad weather,
COVID,
I went and bought a treadmill. And so I built a floating platform to go over the top of the handles on the treadmill. And I can still walk and do my stuff there. But I've cut down now. I was doing 7.7 kilometers every day for a few years, but this year I dropped down to it's 5.4, which is um, basically, I guess in terms of your figures, you would understand. I'm walking 3.2 miles per hour, which is just over 5 kilometers an hour, and I'm doing it for 63 minutes, and it gives me 5.4 kilometers. But I'm not doing it all in the 63 minutes straight. Uh, Maybe once or twice a year I might manage that, but for most times I have to stop for, the pain levels just get too high. So I leave the air conditioning on until I'm all done my walking, which usually is about noon hour.
Sure.
I can't stand walking when the temperature gets up in the high 60s. I can't take it.
It's too much. No, and I love that. If you guys haven't been with us for Wine Wednesday before, Ray always comes up with these ingenious inventions. Like, I mean, whether it be a skimmer or how to fix his treadmill, he is always, I mean, he's just a gem. But
my
I did,
favorite, Kelly, my favorite is still his skimmer. But he had skimmate on his ceiling.
I know. I wanted to real quick in the comments, Amanda Shore, and Salty, I want to know about your fish room too, but I was actually asking Amanda because she's talking about using the air conditioner in the window, like right above the tank, I think, blowing on the water. And so she has 4 Seahorse tubs plumbed together. And so the air conditioner is literally blowing right on them like a fan. That's a really cool idea. I don't think I could do it in my house because there's already central air, but love it. I want to see a picture. The other thing is, if anybody who's watching on Facebook isn't in Seahorse Sources group, if I say to you, I want to see something, like if you're willing, obviously you don't have to do what I say, but if you're willing to share whatever you're talking about, post it in there or go to my page, Seahorse Whisperer. So Seahorse Sources group or Seahorse Whisperer page, and post these things and tag me. I want to see them. I think this is so cool. If you're ever willing, I see you, Ray. If you're ever willing to come in the video and share, like Heather did with the Sea Shed, I can give you the link. We'd love to have it. And Ray wants to talk. Go ahead.
You just said you didn't think you could do it with central air.
Yeah.
I have central air, and when my wife was still alive, um, my wife is more like Holly.
She liked it hot.
She liked the hot. So I had a floor unit down in the basement that would keep my area cool in the basement while my tanks and that were down there, reef tanks, everything. And my sound system was down there. I had a computer
He's
set up
got a
down
he
there.
shed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
man cave.
so she could stay upstairs here and leave the temperature up, and I would go downstairs and have this. It wasn't a window shaker. It sat on the floor, and then there was a tube going to the window that drew air in, and another one that exhausted it. And then on the outside, there was deflectors so that the exhaust was directed away from the intake. And it was, I'm trying to think, 12 or 1400 or 12 or 14,000 BTUs.
Mhm.
But that kept an area in the basement, probably 30 by 12, and that the cool.
Well, with the basement too, it should maintain a more stable temperature than
Yeah.
the rest of the structure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and Amanda, I just wrote it, but you said your 4 tubs plumbed together aren't very pretty. but nobody cares. If you're talking about fry, nobody cares about pretty. Nobody. You want to raise the fry. In fact, that's one of the reasons that Dan would never, post very many videos, because he thought, well, the fry tubs look not good because they're not pretty. And I'm like, no, people want to know what you're doing. They don't give a crap about pretty. You're succeeding. That's all that matters. And speaking of weather and Dan, when I told him, I messaged him, it was funny. I messaged him, or messaged and talked to him the other day. And I was like, when I come visit you to do the Artemia video, and just visit him, of course, in December, because I don't know, I'm not used to you guys' warmer weather areas. So I'm like, it's going to be December, but it's Florida. So do I pack hoodies, or do
They're
I
going to be
pack
in the
shorts?
90s.
He said, Kelly, everybody in Florida will be walking around in hoodies, but you'll probably want to pack a bathing suit because it'll still be hot to you. But anyways. But yeah, no, Amanda, if you don't want to share publicly, I'd love to talk to you privately. But I'm telling you, this is what people want to see. And I hate that on Facebook and Instagram, we talk about it all the time. People can post a really pretty picture of, 25 seahorses in a 20-gallon tank, and then they disappear. Or, they post this gorgeous picture where it's been set up a day ago, and then you don't hear much else from them. People who have done this for a long time come up with Ray's skimmer with skim foam on the ceiling, or Cheryl's tubs, or whatever. I mean, it's not taking care. Breeding fish is not pretty. It never has been, is my opinion. So my tubs were a dang mess, and I wish I'd kept them up now, but I needed the room, so I'm gonna have to wing it if these guys start pumping out fry for me. But Cheryl's always here to help us.
Anyhow,
Yeah,
I'm going to
after what I saw.
Okay, Ray, go walk your dog.
Days.
We're gonna stop in about a couple minutes anyway. So
okay. Good night, all.
Thank you for coming. Good
Good
night.
night. I'm still trying to figure out why it took that pair 3 days of dancing together after they've already produced 2 broods. Why it took them 3 days of dancing together to make the egg exchange. Now, explain that to me. I mean, doesn't it get easier after you've done it a few times?
Right.
Maybe they're enjoying it more now.
Maybe.
They're going to take their time.
Like, seriously, this is a topic
They were
for
so
the
darn-
after party. Wait. This is a topic for the after party. Sorry, anybody watching to hear this, but I'm just saying, what if they have sensory things that, with humans, you give off pheromones and,
Yeah.
All right, after party. Anyways.
Well, the thing is, too, during this same time frame was when I put the wave maker in the tank that wasn't in there before. And I suspect that may have messed up their ability their coordination was not right for an egg transfer initially.
Yeah.
When I increased the flow like that. So there is a rational reason for it. I can kid about it, but there is a rational reason for it.
Yeah, I've noticed that because I have a wave maker in my display tank that is on and off, because I do turn it off when I feed, and sometimes I forget to plug it back in. So it might be off for a while. So sometimes when they're courting, it's on, and sometimes it's off.
Yeah.
So it could be different.
But no, that's interesting. I would actually venture to say too that might be part of what I'm seeing. Like I mentioned, I wonder if the height of the tank, it's not even a problem, but I wonder if the height of the tank is why I'm seeing them having, just odd courting behavior, like going so far up. But it also might be, just the size of the tank, period. I mean,
well, the thing is too, if it's a first time
and the flow
pair,
in a smaller tank. Sorry.
Yeah, if it's a first time pair, they're both going to be uncoordinated. They're trying to learn from each other how to match it up to make it work. And then when you throw something new in there, like a wave maker, which throws the current around, now they've got to readjust all their moves to make an complete an egg transfer. And I mean, it doesn't. Sometimes it's the little things that can throw them off, so to speak.
Sorry, my kids walked in. They were talking. Sorry.
Well, but
yeah,
out. Tell them
Yeah, I
to go
know.
out
Get
and stay
out,
in the
get out.
garage. No, I'm
Right?
kidding.
No, I'm not. But anyway, they're 14-year-old twins. I need them to go away.
Hey, just
But
wait until they get older.
yeah, they already think they're 21. I don't have my camera on. Here you go. There's one of them. Hi. Go away.
Hello.
All right, guys.
So how
So
many
I
do you
think
have? 5 or 6?
don't even wish that on me, Cheryl. No, 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 no,
I'm
no.
messing with you.
No, but I think we are going to call it and have our
Yeah.
after Wine Wednesday pheromone conversation, seahorse sex. No, I'm kidding. But I'm going to call it for tonight. And if there's any questions we didn't answer, we'll be back next week. We'll probably do another one, at least one more week that is open chat, just to make sure I can get everything working, get the chat bot up. And everything like that. Chris, thanks for joining us. Chris, if you can join next week, just check the One Wednesday chat for the link. And Dylan's, good luck with your move. Let us know how it goes. Any of you want to join, just let me know. I'll give you the link. And yeah, I'm going to shut it then. And Salty,
Kelly,
let
I
me
have a
know when you're
question.
ready to do the curing. Go
I
ahead,
have a
Cheryl.
question. How do I log out?
I'll tell you once we're done.
There's a button that says leave.
Yes, I'll show you as soon as we're done. Let's say
The button I
goodbye.
have says live, Live.
It's a smaller one up at
It's up at the
look up in
top.
this in the right corner.
Don't leave us till we end. Everybody say goodbye, and we will see you next week. Say bye.
Everybody take care. I'm going to go check out the storms that are coming in.
Yes, be careful, Cheryl. We'll be praying. Happy Wine Wednesday, everyone. Cheers.
Happy
With
Wine
my margarita
Wednesday.
glass. Yay.